He only had a bag of cans and a half brick, but what he did with them changed 2 lives, and uncovered a secret buried for decades. This isn't just a story about bravery. It's about legacy, love, and a name the world almost forgot. It had rained all afternoon in East Monroe, just enough to make the pavement shine like oil and the gutters bubble with trash water. 12-year-old Jalen Moore didn't mind the rain. He was used to wet socks, used to the feeling of cold water slipping into his torn sneakers. What he wasn't used to was fear. And yet, on that damp Thursday, fear followed him down an alley behind Jefferson Street like a shadow that didn't belong. Dragging a half-filled trash bag behind him, Jalen clutched it close. Inside were aluminum cans, soda bottles, even a dented frying pan he'd fished out from behind Big Tony's diner. It wasn't much, but he could buy bread and milk if the scales at the recycling center didn't cheat him. He moved quickly, cutting behind a row of boarded-up storefronts. That's when he heard it. "No, please. I don't have anything," a woman's voice, desperate. Close. Jalen froze in his tracks, then he heard something slam, hard, a shoe scuffed, a sharp groan. Jalen edged forward slowly, heart hammering in his chest. He peeked around the corner, and his breath caught. A woman lay crumpled on the ground, her coat soaked and torn. Blood streaked her cheek. 2 men hovered over her, both tall, both masked in black hoodies. One kicked something away from her, maybe a purse. Jalen ducked back, pressing against the brick wall. His hands trembled. He should run. That's what Mama always said. If it ain't your fight, don't make it one. But something about the way the woman reached up, her hand trembling, her mouth barely able to whisper, "Help me," made his feet root into the pavement. Jalen took a shaky breath, eyes darting for anything he could use. Then he spotted it. A half-brick beside the dumpster. Jalen's fingers curled around the half-brick. It was slick with rain, cold and heavy in his palm. He'd never thrown anything heavier than a baseball, and that was years ago, back before Mama had to sell his glove. But this wasn't a game, this was real, and someone needed help. He peered around the corner again. The taller man had bent down, gripping the woman's arm. "You think we forgot about you, huh?" he snarled. "You disappear, and now you think you're safe?" The woman tried to speak, but her voice was raspy, barely audible. "Please. I'm not who I was." The shorter man leaned down, his fist cocked back. Jalen didn't think. He stepped out into the open, aimed for the nearest back, and threw. The brick sliced through the air and slammed into the taller man's shoulder with a sickening thud. "Ah!" he howled, stumbling sideways. "Hey!" Jalen shouted, voice cracking. "Get away from her." Both men spun around. The shorter one reached into his coat. "You little—" Jalen didn't wait. He dashed forward, grabbed the woman's hand and tugged hard. "Come on," he yelled. "We gotta move." To her credit, she didn't hesitate. She staggered, limping, but ran beside him as fast as she could. Behind them, footsteps thundered. One of the men yelled, "Get them!" Jalen turned left behind a bakery, then ducked through a narrow break between 2 fences. He'd run these streets 1,000 times. He knew the shortcuts like the back of his hand. By the time they reached a side alley behind the community clinic, Jalen couldn't hear their pursuers anymore. They collapsed beside a row of garbage bins. The woman was gasping for air, holding her ribs. "You okay?" he asked, breathless. She looked at him through swollen eyes. "You saved me." Jalen crouched beside her, unsure what to do. The woman winced as she shifted, pain flashing across her face. Her coat was ruined, her lip was bleeding, and one of her heels was broken. But she was alive. "You need a doctor," Jalen said, glancing around. "Or the cops. Or something." She shook her head. No police," she whispered hoarsely. Jalen frowned. "Why not? They'll protect you." The woman reached for his arm, gripping it tightly. "I can't be found. Not yet." "Why?" he asked, confused. "Who are you?" She hesitated, her breath shaky. "My name's Margot." Jalen blinked. He knew that name. Margot Seaver. The same name he'd seen in newspapers Mama sometimes brought home from the library. Margot Seaver. The missing CEO of some tech company. There had been talk about lawsuits, fraud, money vanishing, but she disappeared 2 years ago, just vanished. "You're her?" he said slowly. "The lady from the news?" She didn't answer directly. Instead she said, "I used to be someone powerful, someone people feared. But I made enemies, real ones. I tried to leave it all behind. But they didn't forget." Jalen sat back, stunned. He'd thought he was saving a stranger, not someone who used to have bodyguards and TV interviews. She tried to sit up but winced again. They think I still have something. Money, secrets. But I don't. I just wanted peace. Jalen swallowed hard. Do you have a phone? Anyone I can call? She shook her head. They took everything. He looked around. There's a payphone near the train station. I got a couple quarters. She nodded weakly. Then let's go. And so, with her arm over his shoulder, the millionaire and the boy with the trash bag hobbled into the night. 10 minutes later, Jalen dropped 2 quarters into the payphone, the rain still drizzling on his back. He handed her the receiver and stepped away to give her space. Her fingers trembled as she dialed. She only spoke a few words, low, urgent. Then she hung up. Someone's coming, she said. They'll know where to find us. Sure enough, within minutes, flashing red and blue lights turned the street into a strobe of color. An unmarked car pulled up first, followed by an ambulance. Uniformed officers stepped out, but not the shouting, handcuff-waving kind Jalen feared. These looked quiet. Serious. Jalen backed up instinctively. One of the medics approached Margot with a stretcher, while a tall man in a navy suit approached him. You the one who called it in? The man asked. Jalen nodded. You helped her? Another nod. The man bent slightly. She asked to see you. Said not to let you leave. Jalen hesitated. Then he walked with him to the ambulance. Margot was already inside, lying down, but her eyes were wide open. You, she said weakly. Don't go, please. Jalen looked up at the medics. One of them motioned him forward. He stepped in, sitting beside her as they shut the doors. She took his hand gently. You're braver than most grown men I've known. Jalen didn't know what to say. I didn't want them to hurt you. She smiled, pained but sincere. That may have saved more than just my life tonight. Jalen's mind was spinning. Who was she really? Why did she look at him like he reminded her of someone? But before he could ask, her voice cracked again. There's something I need to tell you, about someone you might know. Jalen leaned in, heart thudding. The sirens outside wailed as the ambulance pulled away, but inside, everything felt quiet, like the world had pressed pause just for them. Margot's voice was barely above a whisper. Years ago, she said, when I was your age, I was homeless. I lived on the streets with my little brother. No parents, no home, no hope. Jalen's eyes widened. This wasn't the story they printed in the papers. One night, it was freezing, she continued. We were huddled outside a closed laundromat in Birmingham. I was crying, holding my brother, and this boy, maybe 15, came up to us. She paused, her eyes misting. He took off his jacket and wrapped it around me. Inside the pocket was a candy bar and a $5 bill. He didn't say much, just smiled and said, Don't let this world take your heart from you. Then he walked away. Jalen swallowed hard. That sentence, it felt familiar, like something he'd heard once in a dream. She looked straight into his eyes. 2 days later I saw his face on the news. He'd been stabbed trying to stop a robbery. Jalen's heart stopped. Wait, what was his name? Her hand tightened around his. I only heard it once. Raynard. Jalen's lips parted. Raynard Brooks? Margot's eyes widened. Yes, that was my granddad, Jalen whispered. My mama's dad. He died before I was born. Margot's breath caught. Your grandfather. He saved me. Jalen blinked, stunned. His granddad, the man whose picture hung on their hallway wall, had changed her life. She reached into her coat pocket, pulled out something wrapped in plastic. It was old, faded. A photo. 2 kids, huddled under a street lamp. That's me, she whispered. And this is the boy who saved me. That's your blood, Jalen. Jalen stared at the photo in his hands like it held a secret spell. The boy in the picture had wide eyes, ears that stuck out a little, and that same sideways grin Jalen saw every time he looked at his grandfather's old photo on the mantel. There was no doubt, it was him, Raynard Brooks. Just 15 then, and already a hero. Margot watched him quietly. For years I carried this photo with me, through shelters, then dorm rooms, then boardrooms. No matter how far I climbed, I never forgot that night. Or him. Jalen's voice was tight. Mama said he was brave. Said he died trying to stop something bad from happening. Margot nodded. He did. And it stayed with me. When I was building my company, trying to prove myself in rooms where no one believed in me, I'd think about him. About what he gave me when he had nothing. That jacket kept me warm, but his words, they kept me alive. Jalen looked down at the brick-colored blanket across her lap. He never got credit. He didn't need it, Margot said softly. But I owe him, and now I owe you. Jalen shook his head. I didn't do anything special. Just threw a brick and helped you run. Margot smiled. No, Jalen. You didn't just help me run. You reminded me of who I used to be, that girl who believed in kindness, in second chances. You pulled me out of something far darker than that alley. A silence fell between them, deep, heavy, but not uncomfortable. Jalen felt something stir in his chest, pride maybe, or the ache of a legacy he never asked for, but was proud to carry. Margot leaned back against her pillow. I need to do something. For you. For your family. For him. Jalen sat beside Margot's hospital bed, unsure of what came next. The woman lying in front of him wasn't just a millionaire or a news headline anymore. She was someone whose life had been changed by his grandfather, a man Jalen had only known through stories and a fading photograph. And now, Jalen had somehow become a part of that legacy. Margot took a slow breath and turned toward him. Jalen, I'm not just going to disappear again. I've made that mistake before. I vanished when things got ugly, and I left a lot of damage behind. But what happened tonight? It reminded me of the debt I've carried for years. Jalen shifted uncomfortably. You don't owe me anything. I do, she said firmly. I owe your grandfather, and now I owe you too. She reached toward her bedside table and pulled out a leather-bound notebook, newer than the one with her brother's sketches. This one had embossed gold letters on the cover. She handed it to Jalen. What's this? He asked. A scholarship, full ride, wherever you want to go when the time comes. I've already started the paperwork. It'll be under your name. You're smart, Jalen. I can tell. You pay attention to the world. That's rare. Jalen stared at the book like it was glowing. I don't even know what to say. You don't have to say anything, just promise me something. He looked up. Don't let the world make you bitter. It's cruel out there, especially for boys who look like you. But you have a heart that's worth protecting. Jalen felt his throat tighten. The words landed deep, deeper than he expected. He nodded, swallowing hard. I promise. Margot smiled, eyes soft. Then, I've done something right. 3 days passed. Margot had been discharged from the hospital, her presence carefully hidden from the media. She'd requested no press coverage, no cameras, no headlines, only quiet. But inside her penthouse apartment, surrounded by soft beeping security and polished floors, something had shifted. Peace, maybe, or purpose. Jalen, on the other hand, had returned to routine, or tried to. But collecting cans felt different now. So did sitting in math class or walking home past the alley where everything had happened. Something had cracked open inside him. Not in a bad way, but in the kind of way that meant things would never be the same. On a rainy Saturday afternoon, there was a knock at the door. Jalen's mom looked up from folding laundry. You expecting someone? No, Jalen said, standing from the couch. Maybe it's Mr. Howard from next door. He still owes me $5. But when she opened the door, it wasn't Mr. Howard. It was Margot Seaver. She wore dark jeans and a long gray coat, her face still bruised but healing. Behind her stood the same man in the navy suit, the one who'd taken Jalen to the hospital. Good afternoon, she said politely. I hope I'm not intruding. Jalen's mom froze, mouth slightly open. She recognized her instantly. From the TV, from the news, from that unforgettable name. Can I help you? She asked cautiously. I'm here to thank your son. Properly, Margot said, smiling at Jalen. And to speak with you, if you're willing. Jalen's mom glanced at her son, then slowly stepped aside. Come on in. Jalen's heart pounded. He didn't know what Margot was about to say, but he knew one thing, this wasn't just about the alley anymore. This was something bigger. The living room felt smaller with Margot Seaver in it. Jalen sat on the edge of the couch, his knees bouncing. His mama, still in her house shoes, sat across from Margot with a steaming mug of tea she'd nervously prepared. The man in the navy suit waited quietly by the door, saying nothing. Margot sipped the tea slowly before setting it down. Thank you for letting me into your home. Jalen's mom nodded, her eyes wary. You said you wanted to thank my son, but you already did at the hospital. Margot looked over at Jalen. I did. But there's more you both deserve to know. She opened her purse and pulled out the old photo. Devan and Raynard, scraped knees, wide smiles, black and white memory. She handed it to Jalen's mama. That boy on the right. That's your father, isn't it? She looked down, breath catching. Raynard, she whispered. Where did you get this? Your father saved my life when I was a child. I never forgot him. And now, all these years later, his grandson did the same thing. Jalen's mom looked like she'd seen a ghost. Mama always said Daddy was special. Said he had a heart too big for this world. He did, Margot said softly. He gave me everything he had when he had nothing, and now, I want to do the same for you. She turned back to Jalen. That scholarship, it's just the beginning. I want to create something in your grandfather's name. A fund, a center, something real. A legacy built not on profit, but on purpose. Jalen blinked. Like, in his name? In his honor, Margot said. Because the world needs to remember who he was. Jalen's mama finally smiled, tears forming. He'd have liked that, and for the first time since the alley, Jalen let himself feel it, not just relief, but pride. The ceremony wasn't big, but it didn't have to be. Under the warm spring sun at Eastmont Community Center, a small crowd had gathered, city leaders, local reporters, families, and a few curious kids with grass stains on their jeans. A fresh bronze plaque stood by the entrance, mounted beside a brand-new basketball court with bright white lines and polished backboards. Jalen stood next to Margot, dressed in the one collared shirt he owned, the sleeves a little too short but ironed flat. His mama stood proudly beside him, holding his hand even though he was getting a little too old for that. He didn't mind today. Margot stepped to the microphone. She looked stronger now. The bruises had faded, but something else had grown in their place. Clarity, peace. This center, she began, voice steady, is not just a building, it's a promise. A reminder that the smallest acts of courage ripple through generations. She glanced at Jalen. When I was young, I was saved by a boy named Raynard Brooks. He gave me his jacket and a reason to keep going. I never got to repay him, until now. She gestured toward the plaque. Jalen's eyes followed. The Raynard Brooks Youth Leadership Center, in honor of a boy whose heart was bigger than the world that tried to break him. May his legacy live on in every child who dares to be kind. The crowd clapped, soft at first, then louder. Jalen felt his chest swell, not from attention, but from connection. His grandfather was real to everyone now, not just a story whispered at bedtime. Margot leaned down beside him. You changed my life, Jalen, just like he did. I just threw a brick, Jalen said, smiling. No, she whispered. You built a future. And as the kids rushed the new court behind them, their laughter rising into the air, Jalen looked up at the sky and whispered to the wind. I kept my heart, Grandpa. Subscribe for more real-life inspired stories that will make you think, cry, and cheer.